Hi everybody, how are you guys doing? Perhaps you'll notice from my slightly more colloquial tone, this is not a regular episode of What Explain. This is What No You Explain, the slightly more belligerent, offshoot in which bluntly, I offload a lot of my work onto my friends, colleagues, loved ones, and people who I kind of want to talk to. On that note, we do in fact have a guest, as this kind of works as well. She is the host of Nominated, I would say a podcast looking into the Oscar-nominated, movies of the year. And she may be one of the only people that does more research and prep to go into one episode than I do.
You forgot Twitch co-host.
Oh, yes. Also, Twitch co-host / person who I talk to for about an hour and a half about Star Trek every Wednesday. And because it just feels weird doing a chat not on a Wednesday, we're doing that now.
We are doing it on a Wednesday.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to Haley.
Hello. Hi, What Explain cast people, fans, explainers. I think your fans should be called explainers.
I suppose that's better than Wutters.
Yeah, the Wutters sounds like a weird Christian offshoot cult that only believes in asking what to every question.
I would say it's like the inverse of good improv. Instead of yes and, it's what?
But it has to be in that tone too. Just what?
What? All right, Explainer Nation. Ooh, that might be better.
Ooh, that's good. I like Explainer Nation.
Explainer Nation. All right. I would say we're 2 minutes in and we already have a nickname for my listeners. This is great. It probably should have been a thing I thought of about 2 years ago when I started but here we go.
This is how you and I work together creatively. We just kind of talk about random things and then we just latch onto something that works.
Oh, absolutely. It's magnificent and it's worked very well for us so far.
Yes.
I would say, that being said, I think this might be one of the first times we've actually, done this in a strictly audio-based format.
You know what? That's correct. Yeah.
Yep. I would say we're usually both audio and video format, but for you guys, you only get to hear our beautiful voices.
That's all you get. All you get is our voices. If you want to see our faces, you got to find us every other Wednesday on Twitch.
Oh, and which we are 100% going to put the link in the show notes. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of our beautiful voices, Haley, I understand that you have brought us a story. I understand that because I told you to.
Yes, you understand and directed correctly. I brought a story that just before we started recording, I told Brayden was very in the nominated vein. So my podcast Nominated is all about watching every movie that's ever been nominated for the Best Picture Oscar. Famously, there are very, very few Oscars that have ever been rejected. There were only ever 3 people who were nominated and actually won the award and then decided, no, I am choosing not to accept this award. One of those people was Marlon Brando in 1973 at the 1973 awards. Instead, he sent up a Native American woman named Sacheen Littlefeather. So I have her story.
I'm excited. I'm excited because I was just going to say, because I know nothing about this, because 73 was The Godfather, wasn't it?
Is The Godfather, yes. Which I do have an episode on that year.
I know. I was just going to say, I would say one of your first.
One of my first OCs.
Yes, I would say I would say that's the word you use. One of your first OCs that will absolutely get you suited to oblivion if you try.
Oh God, I had someone make me a print of the Gator Father, and I just need to get it printed out on high quality poster paper so that I can hang it in my apartment.
I'm so excited, and explain it to nobody. Give the context to nobody.
Just that's what it is. All right. I tried my hand at writing a script, so we'll see how this goes.
I'm so excited. Go.
Most people have heard that Marlon Brando declined his Oscar for Best Actor in 1972, but the woman who declined it on his behalf has often been overlooked. Surprisingly, this week, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which I'm going to refer to simply as the Academy going forward, has issued a press release regarding the apology they sent to Sacheen Littlefeather in June for the treatment she received that night. They're also hosting an evening with Sacheen Littlefeather on September 17th. So clearly the universe thought that this was the time for someone to tell her story. It just lined up. Sachin Littlefeather was born Marie Louise Cruz on November 14th, 1946, to an Apache Yaqui father named Manuel and a European mother named Geraldine. Her childhood was definitely tumultuous, but the details seem to depend on who you talk to and when you talk to them. She contracted tuberculosis at approximately age 3, although this did not seem to have prolonged effects on her health until her early adulthood. Littlefeather also claims that her mother left her father when Littlefeather was 4, later describing her father as abusive towards herself, her mother, and her 2 sisters. According to Littlefeather, at some point in her early childhood, she lived with her maternal grandparents and sisters next door to her parents. We know for certain that her parents owned and operated Cruz Saddlery from 1949 onwards. Manuel died in 1966, and Geraldine continued to operate the business. My favorite anecdote about Littlefeather is that she was active in 4-H, her awards being in home economics categories like food preservation and fashion.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that there was a 4-H thing for fashion.
Yeah.
Entirely non-sarcastically, this is new information already.
Yeah, 4-H has home economics categories.
Okay, I guess... Hold on, is one of the H's home economics? Is this what I've actually...
No, I looked it up, and it's like hands, heart, health, helping, or something like that.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
For general categories, not just... Okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it mostly focuses on, like, farm work, but home economics comes into that, like food preservation, so pickling and preserving things.
Okay, gotcha. I'm with you.
Littlefeather attended California State University, East Bay, studying dramatics and speech. She explored more of her Native American identity, joining the United Bay Indian Council in 1969. In 1970, she participated in the occupation of Alcatraz, Alcatraz being an archaic Spanish word meaning pelican, by the Indians of all tribes, a 19-month-long protest by 89 Native Americans and their supporters. The IOAT claimed that under the Treaty of Fort Laramie, all retired, abandoned, or out-of-use federal land was to be returned to the Indians who once occupied it. Littlefeather did not live on the island for the full 19 months, as she was a student still attending classes. This is also the time that she adopted the name Sachin Littlefeather, Sachin being a name her father called her, possibly also a Navajo nickname meaning little bear, and little feather from the feather she often wore in her hair. Around this time, Littlefeather joined the Screen Actors Guild and was named Miss Vampire USA in a promotion for the gothic soap opera Dark Shadows.
Okay, I won't lie to you. I do have questions on that one, but it can definitely wait.
Yeah, this woman's life is so much more interesting than you think it's going to be.
And there are turns. Like, they're immediately from, I would just say, troubled childhood, helped occupy Alcatraz.
Yes.
Vampire USA.
And for anyone who happens to listen to the last podcast on the left, Alcatraz means pelican.
Huh.
That's a whole thing. I won't go into it. Okay. She was an active member of multiple Native American communities and events, such as the American Indian Festival at Foothill College in 1971 and the American Indian Festival at the Palace of Fine Arts in 1972. Leading up to her appearance at the Academy Awards, she protested President Nixon's budget cuts to federal Indian programs, participated in a meeting with the FCC and other minority groups regarding minority representation on television, relinquished her United States citizenship, and aided 2 nurses in traveling to the Wounded Knee occupation. That is in the 4 months leading up to the Oscars in 1973.
That was going to be my follow-up question of...
All of those things happened.
That was going to be my follow-up question of, how long was this? Okay.
She was a really active member of, like, Native American people.
Yeah, holy cow.
The Wounded Knee occupation of 1973, like the occupation of Alcatraz, deserves a more full retelling than what I'm capable of here, but the extremely short version is that on February 27th, 1973, 200 members of the Oglala Lakota seized and occupied the town of Wounded Knee in the South Dakota reservation of Pine Ridge. The protest was in response to the alleged corruption and abuse by the tribal president, Richard Wilson, as well as a failure on the part of the United States government to fulfill treaties with Native American people. This protest garnered support and sympathy from many different people, including Johnny Cash, Angela Davis, Jane Fonda, and, of course, Marlon Brando. The Department of Justice had banned media from the site of Wounded Knee, but Brando's protest at the Academy Awards continued to bring attention to the ongoing crisis. It's unclear how Little Feather and Brando met, conflicting stories indicating that she possibly met him through applying to a job with Francis Ford Coppola, or that she was hiking and Coppola was her neighbor. All kinds of different stories have come out. Coppola is alleged to have said that he introduced Little Feather to Brando. Little Feather has also said that she met Brando through his interests in Native American issues. At the time of the Wounded Knee occupation, Sachin Little Feather was the president of the National Native American Affirmative Image Committee. So it's also possible that they met in this professional setting.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Little Feather claimed in 1974 that Brando sent her to a doctor when she was in a lot of pain, and giving the Oscar speech was in part to repay him for that. A quick search online of Sachin Little Feather will easily bring you to a video of her speech at the Academy Awards, declining the Oscar statue from Roger Moore and Liv Ullmann. According to Little Feather, she had been given a 739-word speech from Brando to read at the ceremony. A producer of the show, Howard Cook, informed her that either she couldn't read all that, or that she had 60 seconds to deliver the speech, and she went over, she would be removed and arrested. Her speech was met with mixed boos and cheers. Multiple sources claim that John Wayne, a notable dickhead, had to be held back by security to keep him from forcing her off the stage. Moore escorted Little Feather off the stage and directly to the press area, where she read the full speech Brando had prepared. Her appearance prompted the Academy to ban proxy acceptances in the future. Later reports attempted to discredit Little Feather, claiming she was a hired actress, that she was not truly Native American, and that she was actually a stripper. To be clear, being a stripper doesn't make you any less of an activist.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's the strange one. That's the strange one to me. That's the one of these things that's not like the other.
Remember, it's the 1970s, so we're still kind of coming out of the, we've got the free love movement, but that's you have to empower yourself, man. You can't just sell your body for money, man.
I see.
In October 1973, Playboy released a spread of Little Feather that had originally intended to be included in a 10 Little Indians feature the year before. While she was accused of exploiting her fame, it's important to note that the photos were originally taken well before the Academy Awards, and that Little Feather has stated it was a business agreement to earn money for her to attend the World Theatre Festival in Nancy, France. At 29, Little Feather's childhood tuberculosis returned to haunt her, causing a collapse in her lungs. She survived this incident, claiming a holistic approach to medicine is what saved her. She received a degree from Antioch University in holistic health and nutrition, with an emphasis in Native American medicine. Her skills and knowledge in medicine continued to be a key part of her activism, from working as the secretary on the interim board for the American Indian AIDS Institute of San Francisco, working at the Gift of Love AIDS Hospice founded by Mother Teresa, and membership in the traditional Indian medicine program at St. Mary's Hospital in Tucson, Arizona. She has battled various forms of cancer and cites the holistic healing as the reason she has survived, but in 2021 revealed that cancer had metastasized in her right lung and she is terminally ill. Over the years, Little Feather has founded and participated in many organizations, a laundry list of Native American activism, performance, education, and healing. While she did not have a successful career in Hollywood, it's clear that Sachin Little Feather has made an impact in so many lives. The Academy offering an official apology is, quote, a dream come true, end quote, for Little Feather. It is one more step in the process of reconciliation and the telling of stories that aren't just Marlon Brando sent an Indian girl to refuse his award.
Oh, that's spectacular, Haley. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have one... All right, I have multiple follow-up questions.
There's lots of questions, yeah.
Okay, I would say I can probably stick to the two main ones. I'd say the first one's kind of a little bit more serious. Why would she accept the Academy's apology after all this time and immediately go into An Evening with Sachin Little Feather, sponsored by the Academy?
So, based on the articles that I was reading that she had given interviews for, it seems like she was never really offended by the Academy's actions. She just kind of took it as like, this is what they feel they have to do because they're a white institution, and because they're not going to take me seriously no matter what I do. She essentially said that Indians are very patient people, and it's only been 50 years, so she's having a sense of humor about it.
Okay.
And to clarify, every time I used the term Indian, it was like the appropriate term for the organization or what the person was identifying as at the time.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, she had so much more of a story. I remember hearing about this and being like, oh yeah, Marlon Brando hired some actress to play a Native American to refuse his award because he's a shithead. But the story is so much deeper than that, because both Brando and Littlefeather were really quite involved in supporting the Wounded Knee occupation. And this was something that was very near and dear to both of their hearts. So, I mean, Marlon Brando is he's a difficult character on the best of days, but this was just like one piece of really interesting activism that he did.
Oh, absolutely. And secondly, I would say, and again, please let me know if you're just like, I have no idea. Miss Vampire USA.
So I don't have details about this specific campaign, this promotional campaign.
Okay, gotcha. So this is not like some sort of heavily continued.
No, it was like her casting company said like, oh yeah, she would be perfect in this promo. Let's call her Miss Vampire USA. She was presented as Miss Sachin Littlefeather of Alcatraz.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It's very weird all around. Like everything about it is just very weird.
You know what? Absolutely. Listen, that's the sort of weirdness we're here for.
Yep.
I'd say, and Haley, since you have given us this, I would say, entirely amazing story about this very, very worthy person, Sachin Littlefeather, it's only fair that I repay you about,
yes.
I would say, with the tale of a man who is an eccentric, a raconteur, a former member of Parliament, and a one-man argument against the superiority of the British class system.
I love this.
John Mitten.
I've never heard of him.
Oh, you're gonna.
Okay.
John Mitten was born into a dynasty of squires in Shropshire, England on September 30th, 1796. His father died when he was 2 years old, leaving John the lord of the estate at the ripe old age of 2. And with a disposable income that would be just under $1 million a year in today's money, just made off of the estate, he would not need to do anything for the rest of his life.
So he could just sit around and be a fancy boy.
Absolutely. That is exactly fancy boy money, to use the technical term, I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say, and again, that'd be enough for most people. They'd be set for life. They could pursue whatever occupations they wanted to, free of the burden of scarcity, which was pretty prevalent for, late 18th, early 19th century England. But since we're talking about him now, John Mitten was not most people. He was sent to the prestigious Westminster School, but was expelled after 1 year for fighting a teacher.
Best way to get expelled.
He was then sent to the slightly less prestigious Harrow School and was expelled 3 different times for reasons varying fighting, drinking on school property, and dereliction of duty, because that's absolutely a thing that happens.
Wait. What duty was he derelicting?
It does not say. It might genuinely have just been like, he didn't do chores.
Yeah.
That made
he was assigned to take out the garbage and he didn't take it out.
Yep. So finally, basically the staff of the Mitten estate, because all of that was still being cared for while Mitten was being a shithead, hired a series of private tutors in the hopes that this would be the thing to get their young master educated. However, Mitten ended up doing a significant number of practical jokes on these various tutors, which rarely lasted long, including leaving a horse in the bedroom of one of the tutors.
Oh my God.
But it happened. John Mitten completed his studies. So, on the strength of his ancestry and family connection alone, which is going to be a, through line throughout here.
He's white and he's British in the late 18th century. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Expected.
Better than that. I was just going to say he's white, he's British, and
he's rich.
Yes. And he's landed gentry, so even better.
Yeah.
So based on all of those previous things, he was accepted into Cambridge in 1816.
My God.
But fearing academia would be boring, he brought 2,000 bottles of port with him.
Okay, so hang on. Where was his family's land?
Shropshire.
How far is Shropshire from Cambridge?
You know, that is an excellent question. I would imagine.
I'm going to look that up while you tell me the next
my
part.
God, please. Please, because now this is now I'm invested. He never managed to get his degree as he got bored and promptly joined the army instead. So there, he basically hung around France after Napoleon I's defeat, drinking, gambling, and beginning to lose a lot more than win during gambling. So he started having, shall we say, French debtors. So he returned to England the year after in anticipation of receiving his full inheritance when he turned 21. Because he's just 20 at this point.
Oh my God.
Which allowed him to liquidate assets and funds rather than the approximately $1 million today that he was given per year as an allowance. So, go ahead.
Shropshire is approximately 144 miles from Cambridge, and today would take 2 hours and 32 minutes to drive on the M6 and the A14.
Okay, so we'll call that.
So that's like a 3-day journey.
Yes, absolutely, with 2,000 bottles of port, and I will say nothing else. That is, I'm guessing, other.
That's all.
No, that's all he had.
The clothes on his back and 2,000 bottles of port.
That's my guess. Actually, maybe a little more than the clothes on his back, because there's a little bit more. But once he turned 21, and he had the power to actually, start liquidating all of his estates, his eccentricities began to go full force. In 1819, when Mitten was 23, he wanted to run for a seat in Parliament, as many of his ancestors had before him. He ended up winning. Can you guess how, Haley?
He ran unopposed.
That would have been better. He ended up winning his seat by the tried and true method of hanging around outside the ballot boxes and offering voters £10 notes if they voted for him.
Oh my God. Fuck's sake.
After spending over £10,000 or
£10,000?
Or over £750,000 as of 2006.
Oh my God.
He became a member of Parliament for Shrewsbury, where his estate was.
He fucking bought his way in.
Yes, he did. And it gets better.
Oh, God.
When he first entered the House of Commons in June 1819, he ended up spending just 30 minutes there and left, declaring himself bored with the debates. He did not return to another session, and when Parliament was dissolved the next year, he did not stand for election again. So, to be clear, he spent over $1 million in today's money in individual bribes for 30 minutes in Parliament.
Showed up for 30 minutes. Man.
30 minutes.
Fucking hate rich people.
Oh, he gets less sympathetic. So, with academia, the army, and Parliament boiling Mitten, what entertained him?
Women. Cards.
Yes. But also, absolute insanity. Insanity is what entertained him.
Okay.
He was an avid fox hunter who would hunt in any weather. And if he got too invested in the hunt, he would strip naked and continue the chase if the mood took him. Summer, fall, winter, did not matter. There would be a naked John Mitten riding around his estate, chasing a fox with hundreds of hounds behind him. That's a mental image that you will not be able to get out of your head now. I'm sorry. He also led his stable boys in rat hunts throughout the winter, giving each of the stable boys a set of skates and setting them loose throughout his property.
Skates?
Skates!
Holy shit.
So when Mitten's travels took him down to Wales, he held contests for the local children, giving out cash prizes for those who would roll all the way down the hills outside of town for his amusement.
Fuck. Sorry, you can edit out all my swearing.
No, I was going to say this might be the explicit one. I won't lie to you.
It's usually what happens when I'm around.
It's all right. I have the same effect. All right. Mitten owned also over 2,000 dogs and hundreds of horses on his estates, and he fed his favorites on steak and champagne, both horses and dogs, and let his favorite horse, Baronet, have free rein inside his ancestral manor, and would lay down in front of the fire with Mitten. So he would just snuggle up with his horse and go for a nap in front of the fire. This is one of these times where I'm actually genuinely sad this is not a video thing, because your facial expressions.
What? He would just fucking hang out in front of the fireplace with his horse?
Yep. Just hanging. It's cool. I would say they're cold.
It almost feels less weird to joke about Catherine the Great having sex with her horse
than
this dude who just cuddled his
yep,
horse.
Absolutely.
Oh my lord.
So when horses proved too boring for him, he had the brilliant idea of attempting to ride a trained bear throughout his manor, clad in full hunting gear. The bear actually behaved.
Brayden, you've played Breath of the Wild, right?
I have.
Yeah. When you ride the bear up and you try to have the bear lodged in the stable, and they're like, "That's not a horse."
And they were correct. Yeah. They were entirely correct.
Not a horse.
I'm just going to say it. I would say if a mute person comes in and tries to put a bear in a stable, absolutely not. But astonishingly, the bear did actually behave until Mitten had the brilliant idea to jab it with his spurs to try and make it go faster.
Yeah, let's piss off a 500-pound animal.
Oh God, I think it's probably closer to 1,000. But again, easily. As you can imagine, the bear didn't love it. It bit Mitten on the leg, mauled a nearby servant, and ended up having to be put down.
Would you say that Mitten was bitten?
Yep, he was absolutely bitten. And I would say of it, this account has been written. All right, that's fine. That wasn't great.
You mean you got that from the written Mitten Bitten account?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. But a life of alcohol, gambling, and losing badly, and trained bears tends to get very expensive. And John Mitten ended up having to flee to France in 1831 to avoid his debtors. During his time on the continent, he ended up becoming deathly ill, and apparently needed to return to England in 1833, where his debt, his creditors, and his, kind of estate in holding was waiting. Pretty much as soon as he got off the boat, he was grabbed and interred in the King's Bench prison, debtor's prison in 1833, and died the following year due to delirium tremens. Because if you are drinking an average of 8 bottles of port a day, basically since you were 12, that'll happen.
You're going to have withdrawal.
Haley, guess how old this man who has lived such a life was when he died?
Okay. So when he was 23, he decided he wanted to run for parliament.
Yep.
So I think he was 28 when he died.
That would have been so much fun. No, I was just going to say he was 37. He was 37 and was described as an old young man.
What does that mean?
Apparently, if most of your calories is booze and bacon.
To be fair, yeah, have you seen those photos of people who, what they looked like before they did drugs and then what they looked like during their addiction? Alcohol really ages your face.
Oh my goodness, yes. And that seemed to be his primary vice. Alcohol and insanity.
Yeah, it sounds like he had a lot of issues that could not be solved by being a 19th century fancy boy.
Yes, I believe that is the technical term for them. So I would say it worked out really well that you had basically the life story of this incredibly worthy activist, and I got to balance it out with an utter dickhead. Yes. All right. So Haley, you've shared your story. I've shared my story. Both true. So Haley, how's your nose for lies?
Ooh. I like to think I can tell a lie, when someone is lying to me, but I'm not so sure.
Well, we are going to test that out in a segment that I don't think has a name, but what I'll call Two Truths and a Lie. It's not an original thing, but it's not in the slightest. All right, Haley, this is sort of a best of 3.
Okay.
Long story short, I'll give you a choice of 4 categories, each of which has 3 statements, 2 of which are facts that I have found, tried to put into an episode, couldn't necessarily do it. One of which is artisanally crafted lies.
Okay.
So, want to hear the categories?
Please.
All right, Haley, for this episode, you have a choice of nature, history, alcohol, and one very impressive Danish man.
The category is one very impressive Danish man.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to go with what I think might be the easy category for me, but I'll take history for 100, Braden.
100. All right. For 100.
I guess it's 200. Jeopardy never did it in 100s.
I thought it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 1,000.
No, it's always 2, 4, 6, 8.
Oh. All right. I've learned something new today. All right, Haley. Are you ready for your history-based statements?
Yes, let's go.
All right. Statement the first. The phrase OMG was first used in a letter written to Winston Churchill in 1917 during World War I. One celebrated British admiral of the Royal Navy had retired by 1917 when he wrote to Winston Churchill to share his take on the headlines of today, some of which were so exciting he wrote OMG, brackets, oh my God.
Do I have to guess?
Oh,
now?
no. You get all three. You get all three. Don't you worry.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that to you. All right. Statement the second. Beauty and the Beast was written in France in 1740 to encourage people to see the beauty within, not just concentrate on the unattractive exterior. The author, French novelist Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve, say that 5 times fast, had a brother that had a club.
Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve.
1.
Gabrielle. Oh, I can't even remember.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. That's what happens. All right. The author, French novelist Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve, had a brother that had a club foot, and to many in 18th century France, this made him an unattractive suitor. Villeneuve wrote the story in order to both soothe her brother's worries and to make this belief of internal beauty more popular in France at the time.
What year did you say?
1740.
Okay.
All right. And number 3. President Lyndon B. Johnson owned an aquatic car. When President Johnson was visiting his ranch in Texas, he'd invite friends down and take them for a joyride in his car. As you do, he's the president. Why would you not?
Mm-hmm.
He'd drive down a steep incline towards the lake, pretend to lose control, and then yell, "The brakes don't work. We're going in. We're going under." The car would splash into the lake, and as everyone else was screaming, Johnson would be doubled over laughing. Turns out, Johnson was the proud owner of an amphicar, the only amphibious passenger automobile ever mass-produced for civilians. So, did you want me to sort of like just give you a 1, 2, or 3?
No, I remember them.
Okay.
So, I know for certain that LBJ had an aquatic car.
Okay.
I know that is legit.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty and the Beast was my favorite Disney movie growing up.
Oh.
And is in fact why I have one of my nicknames. And I remember once being told that the actual story of Beauty and the Beast ended with the Beast killing everyone in the village. So I have to say that number 2 is the lie.
You nailed it. I would say you are on the board. It turns out, again, as you probably know, the main story in Beauty and the Beast was more a morality tale to get girls to simply accept arranged marriages. Yep. That's according to children's literature academic Maria Tatar, the tale was written in order to encourage girls to accept arranged marriages, quote, for an alliance that requires effacing their own desires and submitting to the will of a monster.
Cool.
Yep.
Lovely stuff that Disney turned into Be Our Guest, put our service to the test.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there were some heavy edits. Gaston might have been the hero.
Ugh.
All right, so we've got... You know what? I'll throw another category in there.
Okay.
We've got nature. We've got booze. We've got one very impressive Danish man. And, because who doesn't love a fourth choice? Mythical monsters.
Ooh, I think I'm going to go with booze.
All right. We're going with booze. Statement the first, I'll say as I gently sip my beer.
Sip your beer, yeah.
Pinky extended, I'm not a heathen. Juniper was used as a flavoring ingredient in gin, primarily based out of necessity. Juniper plants had such a significant growth capacity and ended up acidifying whatever soil they ended up in, that many farmers in medieval Netherlands considered them a pestilence on their farms. It was not unusual to see large stacks of ripped-up juniper plants in each farmstead. Given its prevalence and the desperate need to do something with it, one enterprising farmer and homebrewer decided to just toss it into some alcohol he was fermenting in an alembic still. Surprisingly enough, the juniper helped to ease the burning taste of the homemade alcohol, and juniper remains a primary ingredient in gin to this day. Statement the first.
Love it. I love it, Jen.
Oh, God, me too. All right, statement the second. There was an entire religion dedicated to the consumption, production, and glorification of wine in Rome. They performed rites within Rome itself, though rumors had it they performed rites of hedonism and excess within the confines of their temples. However, these rumors spread much further than anticipated, and by 190 AD, the Roman Senate forbade them from practicing their rites publicly.
Okay.
All right, and statement the third. The first British colonists in America were absolutely plastered most of the time. Given that they were used to living in areas where the water was often contaminated and unsafe for consumption in Britain, they were equally suspicious of the water sources in America and only drank from them when they couldn't afford to purchase or forage for anything else. Some of their alternate drinking options were milk from their livestock, juice from fruits that they grew or forage, and in fact, beer that they brewed from malted barley that they brought with them to America. Since the latter option created a much larger amount of drink for a much smaller amount of effort, it was the favored option.
Oh, these are hard. So we've got juniper was a weed that got used in gin. Mm-hmm. We have a cult that revered wine in Rome. Mm-hmm. And we have early colonists were always plastered. Mm-hmm. I think the lie is that the early colonists were always plastered, because a lot of them were Quakers or Puritans, and they would drink in moderation, not in excess.
That is a good assumption. You are incorrect.
I
would say juniper was actually sought out.
To go in gin?
Goodness, yes. Because again, if you're, for all intents and purposes, like a lot of the monks in the Netherlands had a lot of juniper. They had a still. They're just like, okay, we need to flavor this with something because otherwise it's going to hurt.
Otherwise, you're just Hawkeye Pierce and mash and drinking rot gut all day.
Yep, absolutely. So, nope, juniper was sought out.
Okay.
All right, so you got 1 for 2 so far. Let's see if you can go 2 for 3 or whether or not my lies will take us through.
I want to go with mythical beasts this time.
Mythical monsters. Mythical beasts? All right, this is going to scroll all the way down here. All right.
Not the least because I was literally wearing my mythical shirt earlier today.
That's incredible. For our listeners, she does straight up have a shirt that just says Mythical Worldwide.
Yeah. So it's from Good Mythical Morning, from Mythical Industries.
Mythical Industries. Love it.
Or Mythical Incorporated, whatever they are. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Creativity through curiosity. Okay. So.
Since the first day of first grade.
Hell yeah. All right. Mythical monsters. So, statement the first. The mountains of Colorado have a strange cryptid called the Slide Rock Bolter. This creature is the size of a blue whale and has a mouth full of very sharp teeth. Its eyes are small, and it uses its back fin, which has a type of hook, to hold onto the mountain. It is said that it secretes a type of lubrication from its mouth that allows it to slide down a mountain and scoop up prey, including humans, in its mouth. The momentum it receives from hanging on steep slopes and its lubrication pushes it up another mountain to grab onto until the next prey shows up. So it Tony Hawks its way through the mountains of Colorado.
Jesus. Okay.
It is believed that the Slide Rock Bolter can only live on mountains that have a 45-degree angle. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to make the slide that gets them their food. Lumberjacks first claimed to have seen this cryptid in the 19th century. While there has been witnesses to huge swathes of flattened vegetation and destroyed trees indicating its possible existence in the 20th and 21st centuries, it is unknown if anyone in the 21st century has actually seen one. This may be because that the creature is so large that the chances of a human getting away from it in time may be why no one has ever seen one.
Okay.
I mean, if you're seeing something the size of a blue whale coming down a mountain at you, you're not outrunning it. You're not.
Yeah. No, definitely not.
All right. Statement the second. The Goat Man of Prince George's County. There are many stories about how the Goat Man from Prince George's County, Maryland, came to be. One of the most popular ones is that he is a goat herder that lost his mind when teenagers murdered his goats. Another story is that he's similar to Bigfoot, but he just looks like a goat. It's the boring story in my opinion, but I'm not. Another story, and the one that's most fantastical if you think about it, and my favorite, is that the goat man is a genetic mistake made by a scientist from the U.S. Department of Agricultural Research Center in Beltsville, Maryland.
Yes.
The story goes that the scientist was trying to cross the DNA of a goat with his lab assistant, William Lotsford.
My God.
It is said that William is now a mutant and out to get his revenge. The goat man has been known to chase people, decapitate dogs, and terrify lovers who make the mistake of parking on Fletchtown Road, his home turf. Teens who make the mistake of going to Fletchtown Road looking for the goat man and have the misfortune to see him never return.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh yeah, no, you gotta put in the unsolved mysteries thing a little bit. Just,
yeah.
It leads it to it. All right, and statement number 3, the Oregon corpsemonger. Back in October of 1822, the town of Grand Falls, Oregon had a spate of disappearances. 5 people, including Maud Johansson, the local schoolteacher, had vanished into the night under widely varying circumstances in the past month, and the town was on edge. Then a trapper moving through the area claimed to have found at least parts of the bodies and what killed him. The trapper claimed to have seen an 8-legged, 6-armed creature over 10 feet wide, with 2 legs and arms that seemed stronger than the others. It ran away when the hunter shot his long gun after it, and within a few days the bodies of the disappeared townsfolk were found in a nearby cave. What was most concerning is that the bodies were missing a total of 6 legs and 4 arms, almost as if the thing that had killed them had ripped off the limbs and grafted it onto himself. Since that day, various settlers and hikers in the area claimed to have seen a many-limbed entity in the forests nearby. And occasional animal corpses missing limbs are found, potential victims of the creature nicknamed the Oregon corpsemonger.
Okay. I'm quite confident that the goat man is real. Real.
You were nodding all the way through that.
I've heard the story of the goat man. He has a bridge, I think. Shane Madej is the current ruler of the bridge.
Hold on, never mind. All right, I'm getting distracted, but we'll
send you the link later. I'll send you the link later. The Oregon corpsemonger sounds too real to be made up because it has like a lot of legit. The Colorado bolter, is that what it's called?
The slide rock bolter.
Yeah. There is no fucking way something the size of a blue whale exists in the Colorado mountains without anyone actually knowing about it. So that's what I think is the lie.
Believe it or fucking not.
No.
Yes. I made up the Oregon corpsemonger whole cloth, man. That was an afternoon.
The corpsemonger was good.
That was an afternoon. I don't even know if there's a town called Grand Falls, Oregon.
I mean, it sounds boring enough that it could be.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was like...
Everything I know about Oregon comes down to craft beer and hipsters.
As it should be. As it absolutely should be.
Sure.
Well, I mean, as a craft beer drinker and one could argue a hipster. As it should be. All right. Haley, you went 1 for 3. You have tied for all intents and purposes, our best showing here. So thank you for coming on.
I'm not proud of that, but that's okay.
Yet, I'm quite proud of it.
Yeah, well, you should be.
Absolutely. So, Haley, do you want to tell us a little bit about Nominated?
Sure. So my podcast is called Nominated. Every episode is 1 year's worth of nominees for the Best Picture Oscar. And we talk about the history. We talk about the movie. I have a different guest every time. It's a lot of fun. I actually watched a movie earlier today. I watched Juno, which was nominated in 2007. And I got a lot of thoughts about it.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear me talk about movies that a lot of other people think are good, you can find it on Nominated. It's on all the major podcast platforms. I'm in the process of getting my next season out. Should be out sometime in October.
I was just saying, I can testify Haley does excellent work. Like, honest.
Aw, thanks, Braden.
I would say, honest to God. I would say, and think about it. She watches, I think it is literally every movie, and including when they expanded it out to 10 movies.
Yeah. So every episode, I watch every movie, with a couple exceptions. Like I didn't watch The Martian all the way through, and I might have skipped over Inglourious Bastards because I've watched those movies so many times. Like Inglourious Bastards is one of my favorite movies of all time. But yeah, every episode, I have watched every movie that was nominated.
Which is...
Some of them are not good.
Yep. Critical darlings, man. They sometimes... Yeah.
It's very interesting as well to be focusing on the Oscars versus the Golden Globes, because the Golden Globes very clearly were like just a cash grab, because the Foreign Press Association, like we don't know who they are. There's only like 50 of them, and they basically get wined and dined at every set. Whereas with the Oscars, it's at least somewhat awards of merit by people in the industry. So sound editing is voted on by actual sound editors. Acting is voted on by past winners and other members of the Screen Actors Guild and of the Academy and stuff like that. So there's at least a little bit of consistency with the Oscars, but at the end of the day, like, it's an award show. It's an industry award show designed to pat each other on the back.
Oh, without a doubt. 100%. 100%.
And sometimes I find these interesting little gems. Like there is a movie from 1958 called Gigi. And it's just a delightful little musical comedy. Like it's a great, great movie. But I never would have heard of it if I hadn't started doing this.
It's also kind of lovely, like when you just sort of like concentrating on things, like just sort of putting together sort of like a project, kind of like nominated, just, oh,
yeah,
this is lovely. I think I unironically enjoy it, even if I didn't, have a deadline.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are movies that I've watched and been like, I'm going to watch this multiple times.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on, Haley. Oh wow, this is 51 minutes. Thank you so much.
We did
I would
good.
say again, thank you so much for providing us with content. This has been so much fun.
Thank you for having me, Braden.
Oh, no worries. I have plans to have you back because I have an actual Tournament of Champions format for Two Truths and a Lie.
Ooh.
All I need to do is get enough guests to actually make a tournament bracket.
I love it.
All right.
And if people want to listen to us talk some more.
Oh, God, yes. The other thing we do twice a week.
Yeah, the thing we do.
The other thing we do bi-weekly. You know what? You are much better at pitching than I am. My God, please.
So every other Wednesday, Braden and I over on twitch.tv/ABOP, EHHBOP, we host a show called BLEEPIN SPACE, Jim, where we are watching every episode of the original series of Star Trek, because Braden has extremely spotty knowledge of Star Trek, spotty to none. And I am a huge Trekkie, so I'm taking him through the original series of Star Trek, and then who knows, we might go further. We might go to the Final Frontier, where no Braden has gone before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so excited to find out what a Klingon is. That sounds like a joke.
Oh.
It sounds like a joke. I'm so excited to find out what a Klingon is.
I can't start talking about it right now.
All right. But yeah, no, we'll put that in the show notes. We'll put nominated in the show notes. Really, this is going to be a very link-heavy show notes, but we're here for it. We do good work. We'd like you all to see it.
Yeah. It would be fun if you checked our stuff out. That'd be cool.
Absolutely. Be nice. It'd be nice to have, some eyes on our stuff, some ears on our stuff, some eyes and ears on our stuff if you're feeling generous.
Yeah, actually, yes. Yeah.
We'll accept eyes and or ears depending on what we're doing, but...
Friends, Romulans, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Yes, there are also puns. My God, are there puns.
So many puns.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Haley.
Thanks, Braden.
Have a good one, everybody, and we'll talk to you. Well, I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Who knows when Haley will talk to you again.
Forever.
Yep.
I'm always in your head.
Always there, man. She's always there. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.